Welcome to episode 237 of Girl Take the Lead, where each week we explore womanhood and leadership. And I'm your host, Yo Canny. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Amy D. Love, a Gen X powerhouse, nationally recognized business strategist, entrepreneur, and passionate advocate for AI education. Amy joins us to talk about her timely new book, Raising Entrepreneurs, Preparing Kids for Success in the Age of AI. And it's a wake up call for parents and all of us for a practical guide for raising confident, future ready innovators. She's also the founder of Discovering AI, a growing movement and platform designed to help families, educators, and communities understand and apply AI intentionally with clarity, confidence, and impact. Amy is one of those extraordinary women who crosses your path and just blows you away. I've had the pleasure of getting to know her through her work with Girl Scouts, and I feel incredibly honored to share her wisdom with you today. While many of us may feel fear or uncertainty around the future of AI, Amy is leading the way with a message of empowerment, showing us how to help the next generation thrive with purpose, creativity, and resilience. She's here to remind us entrepreneurship isn't optional anymore. It's the new survival skill. And we have an opportunity right now to unlock our child's full potential. We have a few announcements about some of our past guests to pass along to you at the end of the episode, so be sure to listen in for those. Enjoy our episode today. Here you go. Amy Love, you have the best name in the entire world, but welcome to Girl Take the Lead. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Yo. It's such a pleasure. I've so enjoyed listening to your podcast and seeing the great work you do with so many Girl Scouts. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me be part of this podcast today.
Oh, yeah. So let's start, if you would, to introduce yourself to our audience that's listening and perhaps viewing the huge background behind you of your book.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see by my background, I'm Amy Love. I'm the author of Raising Entrepreneurs, Preparing Kids for Success in the Age of AI. After years of leading Fortune 500 companies as their chief marketing officer and unicorn-based AI companies, valued at $5+ billion, it really was an opportunity given the community service and other work have done over my career, which includes being the CEO of the Forum for Women Entrepreneurs and Executives and creating a class at Stanford Business School called Entrepreneurship from the perspective of women, and my work on the board of the Girl Scouts to really bring all that together and focus on one of, I think, the most pressing and emerging issues facing society today. And that is, how do we raise the current and follow-on generations in an environment that is rapidly changing through the onset of AI? And so with that, I founded Discovering AI. We focus on helping parents, kids, and families, as well as educators and caregivers, align to the realities of today and help bring their best forward self from an intentional perspective to help raise kids, as well as help young adults thrive in the new workforce.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited about the new workforce. So you know that I'm such a ally for you on this, but you know, every day I'm posting social media and I am using Chat GPT like as my BFF and my entire, if I had a social media staff, what it would look like. And I even threatened my husband to say, Chat loves what I'm doing. And it tells me constantly that I'm just so strategic and thinking things out and that I'm going to leave him for the chat. So I totally get it. And I know that there's a lot of challenges though about, AI and, is that kind of what you tried to address in your book? Like get over those biases.
It's really interesting you raise that. I'd love to maybe unpack that a little bit and we could go in a couple different directions. But one thing in particular that you said that I wanted to acknowledge was you talked about how you've built a personal relationship with your AI. And,
Hmm.
you are an experienced professional who has years of experience and can discern between, hallucinations and facts and know how to double check and create things. And it was just recently this month that Google announced that they were opening up Gemini for kids under 13.
Hmm.
And they put a note out to parents that said, by default, Gemini, a large language learning model, will now be available to any kids that are using Google-based products. And they sent a note out to parents to say it's your responsibility to have the conversations with your children around what this means. And one of the things, that they specifically said is please tell your kids AI is not a real person. Right? And
Yeah.
so exactly what you just had as an exchange with your husband
Yeah.
is important because for many young people, the opportunity to have it's almost like your pet, right? And but yet better perhaps
Hmm.
because the AI will listen intently. It
Yeah.
will, proactively reply back, providing praise and engagement and enlightenment to you on topics that it is important and for parents and for families to engage on what does AI really mean for them. And I know we can head in many different directions on that, but I just wanted to acknowledge that if that is a real concern for children today is can they really discern between something that is mimicking human behavior and
Yes.
that of real human behavior.
Yeah. Well, I loved so many, there were so many parts in your book where you really brought, you kind of, although you didn't address it head on, that the fear that
Yeah.
people have, you took it from the point of view of, hey, let's look at this as an opportunity and a way for parents to relate to their kids and not get lost in the fear of, AI is bad and it's going to take jobs away and all of that kind of negativity. And I loved when you were bringing forward all of these ways that could be opportunities to address the myths that
Mhm.
are out there. Is there one in particular that you hear when you're working with groups that really resonates?
I would take it from the standpoint that it's hard to nail it down to one because, we're all such individuals, right? That's one of the neat things about the human race is we all have our individual DNA and uniquenesses with us. So I would term it as there's really kind of two ends of the spectrum right now and where I see with most of the adults and the parents and how they're relating to AI. There are those that are extremely concerned, fearful, afraid of it and are pursuing a path of no engagement. And then there is the group that is hands off. The schools have taken care of it in the past. Let the schools take care of it. We're going to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in both those cases, they're operating under a misnomer of understanding the significance of what's transpiring within the age of AI. So if I unpack that just a little bit, if I take first this issue of fear, without a doubt, many adults feel we missed the boat with the internet. We missed the boat with mobile devices. We certainly blew it with social media, and they don't want to see it happen again with AI. But AI is fundamentally different than both of those. AI is a tool that can be used and leveraged if you know how to use appropriately something so powerful. And the way I describe that is think about it as your child getting their driver's license. Do you just hand over your keys to the car and say, here you go, you're 16, hop in the car, you can drive?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, right? Instead, what you probably do is you help them study first and learn about it. Then they take their learner's test and then they get their permit. And either you help them learn in the car or maybe you hire someone else externally to also help. But only once they gain proficiency do you then allow them to have kind of provisional use of their license where
Mm.
they can drive themselves but no one else. And then once they get some experience underneath their belt, then ultimately they can drive others. And
Hmm.
so for those parents, while they're today with Uber and Lyft and ride shares and driverless cars, some kids are choosing not to drive. It is a fundamental skill that most people in society feel that they need.
Yeah.
So it's much more difficult to learn how to drive when you're older and you're an adult and you have, different fears and concerns than learning it when you're younger. And I think that's very true for AI as well.
Yeah.
I do think it's important for parents to realize that AI is here to stay. It's an integral part of any profession today. While it's lagging in schools and individual utilization, the business world, the hospital world, the nonprofit world, the education world, starting to get to that point, have really embraced AI. So they're going to have difficulty being the wind beneath their child's wings if they're not helping them learn how to spread those wings and learn this tool, learn the capabilities of AI. So
Hmm.
that's kind of one myth, is that we'll just wait. The other myth on the other side is, look, the schools have always taken care of teaching the kids. We'll just let the schools do it, is really a myth that is truly concerning when you even talk with the teachers, because the teachers are not the ones who are providing the digital devices to their kids outside of maybe the class Chromebooks. But when you think about the phones and the devices and the utilization of that, it's really dependent upon those parents to help guide them. Your listeners may not realize this, but we have 13,000 school districts in the United States. Every single school district has the right to determine their own curriculum based upon state standards and requirements and expectations. And there just simply is not enough professional development time to
Hmm.
help elevate teachers' awareness, understanding, and training when they're so focused on standardized testing and core subjects.
Hmm.
And it will take time for the new crop of teachers to come into the school settings with this new set of knowledge that they're learning in college. So our education system in the United States is very different than India and China and Belarus and elsewhere, where they've mandated top down the importance of AI education. And our current president has issued an executive order to do something similar, but it isn't empowered like they are in other countries to do that because it's still a decentralized education system.
Hmm.
So knowing that, the education system is going to take years before it is in a position to appropriately educate and train the current generation on the issues, the ethics, the use, and the concerns, fears, and harms of AI. And so the teachers, have now more so than ever, need to look to parents as a bridge and a guide and a connection for this.
Hmm.
And so for the myths, those parents that view it as something that we'll just leave it to the schools, um, what you're creating an environment is you've handed the keys to the car to your child and they're just driving it. And
Yep.
that doesn't bode well for society either.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you look at in your book is the entrepreneurship as the opportunity there. And why don't you talk a little bit about what you see as that being, you know, a great opportunity coming out that we don't, well, as Girl Scouts, we definitely have always realized that selling cookies was very entrepreneurial for our kids when they were so young, um, starting out. But that notion of the empowerment that can happen with entrepreneurship is so wonderful the way you wrote that in the book. And what are some more insights you have there?
The concept behind the book, reason why I went with raising entrepreneurs, and it was great that it has an AI even in the title, right?
Mhm.
Is because what we need to realize is AI is a tool. And so we as humans have to shift how we think about leveraging such a powerful tool that we've now been given. Knowledge is now universally accessible to all.
Yeah.
We have to know how to access it, ask the right question, discern what's real. And we have to be able to leverage the uniqueness of the human mind to come up with what are the new creative issues, opportunities, solutions we want to build for humanity. That comes along when you have an entrepreneurial mindset. The concept isn't everyone becomes an entrepreneur, but everyone has the need in the age of AI to understand an entrepreneurial mindset from the standpoint of adaptability and resilience, right? At the
Mhm.
rate of change, the reality of the jobs that exist today, the vast majority of them will not be here in 5 years, let alone 10 years. The opportunity for early steps on your career ladder, those rungs are being removed. So, how can you be adaptable and navigate constant change and recover from setbacks? You might be, in college right now and you've studied to become a PR professional. You and I both know marketing extremely well.
Yeah.
No longer do you need to take weeks to review a press release and have it go through the junior associate, the senior associate, the partner, back to the firm, back, edits. 2 weeks later, you finally have it. You're going to use ChatGPT. You're going to lay
Yeah.
the outline out. You're going to lay out the purpose, the strategy. You're going to get back a really well polished press release that's probably 95% the way done. You'll have that press release done in an hour.
Yeah.
So if your career was communications and PR, you need to be adaptable and resilient because guess what? You've got a setback because you've just spent 4 years studying for a career that is no longer needing that role.
Yeah.
So you can teach adaptability and resilience in so many ways as a child. The second, so we really talk about 6 traits. So adaptability, resilience, that's trait one. Second one is critical thinking and problem solving. And I think this is probably the one that concerns teachers the most because I'm old enough to remember when calculators came out and how many kids stopped learning their times tables, thinking they didn't need it. But it wasn't until they got to more advanced math and day-to-day living that they realized, oh my gosh, I need to know this. In fact,
Mhm.
I'll never forget when I graduated from Harvard Business School, I was interviewing with Nestle. They were hiring people from, all of the top 10 MBA programs.
Mhm.
They flew us all into LA. There were 20 something of us there. One of the interview questions was, sell me this pencil. The second interview from the question from that same interviewer was, what's 12 times 24? And I said 288, right? 12 times 12, 144 times 2, 288. And I just kind of looked down and I answered it. And as soon as I looked down, he goes, well, you can use paper if you want. I'm like, I don't need paper. I was a little cocky, I have to admit. I'm like, I don't need paper. It's 288. But I was caught off guard by that question. And then I asked him, so I have to ask you, like, do people not know that answer? And he goes, out of the 20 something interviewers we've had today, interviewees, 3 have been able to answer that. Most
Wow.
of them froze because they've only used calculators. And
Uh-huh.
they were like, I need pen, I need paper, I need a calculator. So for us today, we have to be really clear
Yeah.
that for our young people today, we cannot outsource critical thinking and problem solving to AI.
Yeah.
In fact, yesterday I took a group of Girl Scouts up to Stanford's AI Tinkery, and I brought along our computer science teacher from the school. And she was talking about she encourages her students to use GPT, whereas the rest of the school, for the most part, is not.
Mhm.
But she said it can't be the first question. And you have to be able to explain to me everything that's in your paper.
Yeah.
And she goes,
Yeah.
if you can't, it's an automatic F.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's there. Because students are outsourcing their critical thinking and problem solving by not even taking the first step to learn how do you go through problem solving. So
Yeah.
that is essential. And when you talk about the myths, with the myths of the parents who are just allowing the kids to start using it, those kids are going to be at a huge disservice and disadvantage if they don't build those critical skills.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things. One, you use the term intrapreneurship.
Mhm.
And for a lot of our, I had to go look it up. Of course, I looked it up on chat and said,
Mhm.
what is this? And it and I realized that I probably had been that
Yeah.
in my career and didn't really realize it. Can you just, for the sake of those that might be my generation or the one below, what you mean by that? Because it seems like the foundation can start very young and work their way. You just don't walk in to a position and become some kind of you have to really have practice
Yep.
on how to communicate, how to do that problem solving you're talking about and be able to communicate. That's one of the things I saw when I was teaching at San Jose State was kids wanted to read off their phone.
Yep.
They didn't understand how to connect. So it seems to me that will, like you've mentioned, an opportunity to be that entrepreneur that will be going into in the future organizations.
Absolutely. Some of the other traits we talk about are, creativity, innovation, empathy, and leadership, along with the technical fluency, digital literacy, as well as entrepreneurial mindset and initiative. So when you think about those traits, those 6 traits, you can do and demonstrate that whether you're starting your own lemonade stand, launching your own car detailing business, launching an eco succulents business, or starting your own company like I am with Discovering AI or like you are with your podcast.
Hmm.
However, the vast majority of people will do it inside a company,
Hmm.
and that is entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
And this is where we are no longer the Henry Ford assembly line structure, even though our education is still very much built on the industrial age mindset. Instead, if you talk to CEOs today, they are looking for people who come in and can offer something that AI cannot. It's not just knowledge. That's why, Harvard Business School grads are even having a challenge finding roles right now. It is, they are looking for people who can come in and see beyond the data and look for what is the problem or the issue that we need to solve for, that they
Hmm.
can understand their employees, that they can understand their customers, that they can understand the environment in a way that GPT only knows through experience from others, not this current situation, right? So when you think about entrepreneurship, do you come into a role and are you waiting simply to be told what to do and to follow a prescribed process? Or are you demonstrating that entrepreneurial mindset that you understand how you could leverage AI or even offline systems to create a better way to solve a problem, reduce cost, increase sales, service better, through thinking through creatively and by using innovation to think about new ways to do things, leveraging technology or not, in a way that really shows you're taking initiative to help the company or organization be better.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt you did that in your career.
Mm.
People that start their own podcast demonstrate the level of initiative it takes to drive to move that forward. And at every turn, I remember back to my days at Procter and Gamble, and I'll give this example. I had been on board for about 3 months, and it's P&G was a promotion from within only company.
Hmm.
And so you had to go through a 12-month, no matter what, 12-month management development program out in the field, and you couldn't get promoted early. Well, I finished the entire development program in less than 3 months. And so I was still doing my routes and stuff. So my manager said, I'm going to challenge you. Why don't you go after being selected for this thing called the deodorant roundtable? P&G has Secret Insure, #1 and #2 market share deodorant in the country. So I said, okay, great. I ended up setting up a promotion with the University of Houston, who at the time had Akeem Olajuwon, the Phi Gamma Slamma. I created a in-store promotion. I redid shelf sets. And lo and behold, I was selected. It was a 3-month window of what could you do to impact the productivity and the sales performance of Secret Insure. So at 6 months, right out of college, I won a national award. In fact, I was the only person at my level chosen. They chose 2 people at the next level and 4 people at the level above. So there were 6 of us taken to a 5-star restaurant in Cincinnati, a clock, Howard Miller clock, awards, all those things. But what really caught me was in my cohort class of new hires, when I was at a marketing and sales kickoff, a person came up to me in the bathroom and said, congratulations on getting the award. I said, oh, well, thank you so much. And her comment to me was, I never thought I could even be accepted, so I didn't try.
Uh,
And what was interesting with that comment is I said, I never thought I would get accepted either. So it wasn't about doing it to get accepted, it was doing it to learn,
yeah.
right? It was a challenge. It was an opportunity to show initiative. It was an opportunity to be creative and show innovation and critically think through issues and problem solve and to demonstrate an interest to do something more than being sitting back and wait to be
I
told
mean,
what to do, right?
that's so
And so entrepreneurship can happen everywhere, but that is probably the thing when we talk about some of the challenges of how this current generation has grown up through the concept of just consuming.
true.
and why part of discovering AI is all about trying to flip that switch to say, let's move from consumption to creation. That's where
Yes.
you start to see the mindsets around this entrepreneurial mindset that is so essential in this new digital age of AI.
Yes.
Because those that wait and simply consume are going to find that they will struggle professionally and in life in a world that will, in fact, more so than ever, reward those that are actually able to take initiative and demonstrate new ways to solve problems.
Wow. So well said. You talked a lot about in your book Generation Glass.
Yeah.
And I always love to hear about the different generations. And what insights do you see there? And maybe define it for our group so that they understand what how you looked and
Yeah.
defined.
So it's interesting. I'm doing another podcast next month for Gen Zers.
Mm,
And he was like, help me understand your definition of generation glass as well. And he had a really interesting definition of how he views it. He views Generation Z as generation glass because he feels his generation is very brittle, that anything that can go wrong, they kind of just crack.
mm,
Maybe a little bit out of COVID time or what, I'm not sure. And so that's why he wants me on, because of these 6 essential traits he feels his generation really needs. But in the broader macro sense, generation glass is being defined as anyone born 2010 or later. And if you think about it, the easiest way to remember it is the iPad was launched in 2010.
mhm,
So the generation glass has been raised with a screen in front of them from birth.
mhm,
And as a result, they have learned to consume information by literally staring at a screen. And the reality is, we have to work with this generation to move them beyond the realm of being digitally native to becoming digital leaders. And digital leaders come about when you can teach them how to use the power of the internet to help them solve the world's problems rather than simply consume data.
mhm, mm. So is that what you meant by kind of intentional empowerment?
It's intentional empowerment and also intentional parenting,
Mhm,
because I think, it's not an indictment on the schools and it's not an indictment on the parents, right? We've all been there. I've got a 12-year-old myself. It is, how do you keep your children engaged in such a way that you realize that everything you say, they're growing and learning from?
mhm,
And so, from an intentional parenting perspective, there is a challenge for the short-term solution of handing them a device as a young child to soothe them versus learning your voice and having conversations with them and turning that into a different way. My daughter and I do Wordle together every day. That is a creative use rather than pure consumption of watching just video after video after video, right?
right.
It exercises the mind, it has the conversation. Sometimes we have to look up what the words are. It is about an intentional action to leverage technology in a way that builds for good.
Mhm,
And intentional purposefulness is really around, as we start to get to the older teenagers, young adults, for them to think about how they can leverage technology in such a way to solve the problems that they'd like to see happen.
yeah.
Sam Altman, the founder of ChatGPT, said on an Oprah Winfrey special, when he was asked, what are the limitations you see with AI in the next 10 years? Answered it, only the limitations of the human mind.
Mm,
And if we can restructure that to where people realize the power of the gift we've been given, if used for good, and
mhm,
in recognizing we need to address bias and disinformation, that is going to be essential in this new age of AI.
yeah. So, Amy, I loved what you wrote about Generation Glass um, in in your book about entering the workforce, and I thought you did such a brilliant job kind of describing it. Can you read that section for us?
Sure, absolutely. Be my pleasure. Let's see. So I'm starting on page 91. McKinsey research indicates that while AI will automate many routines, it will also create opportunities for those who can think entrepreneurially. The key difference lies in how individuals approach situations. A traditional mindset perceives AI as a disruption, leading individuals to wait for clear instructions before taking action and to avoid risk or uncertainty. This perspective prioritizes existing solutions instead of seeking out new possibilities. An entrepreneurial mindset fosters a different approach to AI. In contrast to seeing it as a competitor, it is recognized as a tool for innovation. Instead of waiting for direction, those with this mindset proactively identify opportunities. They embrace calculated risks, and they understand that the progress comes from experimentation. Instead of relying solely on what already exists, they focus on creating possibilities, shaping tomorrow instead of reacting to it. When Generation Glass enters the workforce, they won't simply use AI tools. They will shape how these tools are leveraged in entirely new ways. Instead of perceiving AI as a replacement for human skills, they'll learn to integrate it into their work to enhance creativity and efficiency. They'll recognize gaps where AI can accelerate solutions while ensuring human ingenuity remains at the core of innovation. With technology evolving at an unprecedented pace, adaptability will become second nature, allowing them to navigate change with confidence. Most importantly, they'll create value in ways they never thought was possible before, redefining industries and expanding opportunities for the future. For parents, raising the Generation Glass, fostering an entrepreneurial mindset means providing experiences that develop the ability to adapt, think creatively, take initiative, navigate uncertainty, and manage issues in rapidly evolving contexts. Research from MIT's Media Lab suggests that early exposure to content creation, digital storytelling, and hands-on troubleshooting enhances neural pathways that support innovative thinking. These skills don't emerge all at once. They develop progressively, shaped by authentic experiences at each stage of childhood. The way a 5-year-old experiments with creativity differs from how a teenager applies strategic thinking, yet both are building the same foundational mindset. By tailoring opportunities to their developmental stage, parents can help children strengthen their problem-solving abilities, technological fluency, and entrepreneurial thinking over time.
Well, I think that's a great summary to what you've told us in this podcast episode. And I just wonder if there's anything else on your mind that you'd like to share about that or that we haven't covered.
I just want to underscore that you don't have to have all the answers. You can
Mm.
take small steps. It's an opportunity to begin and build upon it every single day. Parenting is the toughest job we'll ever have. I make mistakes every single day, and I try to get better every day. Right.
Oh, that's so good though.
Um,
So, um, so Amy, how can our listeners and viewers follow you, get your book, and find out more?
so the easiest way for people to get involved is to go to discoveringai.com. That's where they'll find information about our free workshops for parents as well as for recent college grads. We also offer learning circles for young children through teenage, adults, and family opportunities. We also offer customized workshops and programs for businesses and employers. So discoveringai.com has all that information. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. We have a Discovering AI newsletter with a very large subscriber following on LinkedIn. So the links are on that or on the website. But in addition to that, your listeners can go to discoveringai.org, and that is our nonprofit arm. And on our nonprofit arm, we offer a whole slew of free resources that parents and family members can check out. And the one that I like to really highlight is our family values AI checklist. And what the family values checklist is all about is a recognition that if we're not going to be looking to the schools to immediately take this lead in driving what is digital leadership utilization and approaches, just like at everyone's home, everybody has their own family values. When do you
Mhm.
say please and thank you? Do you put your napkin in your lap? Do you hold a door open or not? What are your thoughts about when you can use AI for homework or not? Is your family values that you don't take anything from the grocery store until you pay for it? Well, what do you do about AI in terms of citing sources, what have you? So the family values discussion is to put the intentional parenting to the forefront. And that
Mhm.
is to open up the dialogue and the conversation we need to be having as family units, reflecting our own family values in line with how we want to use technology and AI. So
Mhm.
that's available for free on the discoveringai.org site. That's also where they can find the book. It's also available on Amazon. We're so appreciative of the great support that we've received. It hit #1 in 4 categories on Amazon. So it's off to a great start and really appreciate, you, Yo, in terms of the opportunity to talk with your listeners about it.
Yeah, great. So, Amy, I ask all of our guests this question, and I'm kind of guessing what you might say, but what would you tell your 20 something self today?
What I would tell my 20 something self today is, well, you have to know the 20 something self I was, which was I had a perfectly mapped out career path and trajectory of everything I was going to do and accomplish by what age and all those sorts of things, is to realize that life doesn't happen in a linear path.
Yeah.
Embrace every opportunity with the same gusto that you did from the moment before. Realize and maintain your love of learning because of the importance of it, and to recognize the opportunity of how important it is of the relationships you make along the way. And
Mm.
so I would say chill a little bit, stay focused on your goals, realize it's not a linear path, and enjoy the journey as well as the destination.
Yeah. What I was thinking was something like you might be saying, hold on, baby, this is going to be an incredible ride.
It has been. I mean, I am truly blessed. I've had the opportunity to, launch my own company that I ran for 10 years, that the New York Times proclaimed as the authority in that space. I've been the CEO of a nonprofit. I've started a class at Stanford. I've actually had Stanford write a business school case about my company. I've been a Fortune 500's chief marketing officer. I've had a phenomenal career. I would have never guessed it in my 20s that I would have, you
Yeah.
know, ping pong back and forth in different directions. To some extent, that's more of a reality of living in Silicon Valley, where
Mm.
the rate of change and transition and you get acquired and you move into companies and out so much more frequently than perhaps elsewhere in the United States. But it's been a tremendous ride. And one of the things I say over and over again, it's been an amazing ride being a parent and the toughest job I've ever had. And
Yeah.
something I truly enjoy and feel a huge responsibility that through hopefully this work, we can make a difference in the lives of other parents and other kids as well.
Mhm.
Because I really do believe that this is fundamentally important for the longevity, not only of the United States in terms of our role on a global stage, but also ensuring that our children are able to expand their wings in a way that will usurp what we actually accomplished.
Mm. So great. And lastly, I know you got a chance to go to our store and take a check at some of the cards and gifts we have there. And there was one that spoke to you. Do you want to share with our group what that was?
Absolutely. And, we talk about creativity and innovation. The work that you do on that front is just amazing, Yolanda. It's just fabulous. I really found, though, the one that I always need to remind myself periodically is the one around trust your gut.
Mhm.
And that one stopped me in my tracks because there have been a few times in my career where, with various circumstances, I'm like, my gut is telling me this might not be the best professional move, but I went ahead and did it. Others were telling me I should do it, and I did it. But at the inside was like, nah, I don't think it's the right one. Wait for that right move.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, ever since I launched Discovering AI, my gut has always told me that I am on track, right place, right time. This is what we're trying to do, and there's so much value here. And
Yeah.
listeners, and podcast hosts like yourself, I can't thank you enough for your interest to help spread the word for us.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Amy, so much. And just thank you so much for your book and for the way that you are commitment to this. Um, it's just so important. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And we sure hope you found this conversation as eye opening and inspiring as we did. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps others find us. And don't forget to tell a friend. You can also join our public Facebook group, Girl Take the Lead, or visit our website at girltaketheleadpod.com. We're also on YouTube. Just search at Girl Take the Lead and hit that subscribe button to support the show. And exciting news, you can find a video episode at YouTube Music or on Spotify as well. Here are a few of my favorite quotable moments from today's conversation with Amy Love. Quote, AI is not a real person. Hard to remember that, but it's not. AI is a tool that can be used and leveraged if you know how to use something so powerful appropriately. Knowledge is now universally accessible to all of us. We have to know how to access it, ask the right questions, discern what's real, and leverage the uniqueness of the human mind to create the solutions we need for humanity. And the last one, CEOs today are looking for people who offer something AI cannot. Humans who can see beyond the data and respond to the present moment with insight and experience. Here are 3 powerful takeaways. 1, discernment is crucial. One of the key challenges kids face today is distinguishing between AI behavior and real human interaction. Adults, too, are navigating extremes, either driven by fear or opting for hands-off delegation to schools. Parents must step into the middle and guide their children with awareness and confidence. 2, the education system is massive and slow to adapt. With over 13,000 school districts, change will take time. Parents need to act as bridges, supporting teachers and leading conversations about ethics, usage, and the responsible integration of AI. And 3, an entrepreneurial mindset is no longer optional. In a world where many current jobs will vanish in the next decade, kids must cultivate adaptability, resilience, empathy, critical thinking, creativity, and problem solving. These are the traits that will set them apart, and it's our job to help them grow. So, a couple announcements. One of our past guests, Michelle Phillips, just dropped her first episode of her brand new podcast, Write Your Outcome. And I couldn't be more excited for her. She says it's for the trailblazers, the overthinkers, the heart-led leaders, the ones who know there's more and are ready to create it. Kind of sounds like you, right? Also, our guest, Laura Zavelson from episode 234, did an episode on her podcast, The Gen Expert Show, called 5 Ways to Use AI in Coaching or Consulting Businesses. And she has tips for podcasters in there too. I'll have links to Michelle and Laura's episodes in the show notes. And don't miss our next week's episode with Athena Brownson, a remarkable woman whose journey from professional skier to resilience coach will absolutely move you. After facing years of physical setbacks and a chronic illness diagnosis, Athena has transformed her pain into purpose. She now empowers others to rise above adversity, align with their values, and redefine success on their own terms. I promise you, you'll be inspired. So be sure to tune in. And until then, take care, keep leading with your heart, and remember, you've got this. Talk to you soon. Bye.